Hey everybody, and welcome. So, I want to make a video doing an update on my ultra micro sizing of my phone ability for this. And I'm thinking I might actually go a slightly different route because as much as this would actually be a pretty decent alternative ability with performance and speed, I might not need so much of power for this ability to record. Because for videos and such forth, you actually don't need that much performance. Like, you can even likely record directly to a portable hard drive. And I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about a actual HDD hard disk drive. Just straight up. Because even the ability to record straight to an SD card with 4K, 60 frames per second or so forth is possible. So if that's possible, then that means you can even do that with a hard drive. So why do you need so much speed performance? Not to mention, if you can do the ability to record on a hard drive, then you can do the same thing on SD card. Now, the first reason of why I was going with this is because heat tolerance. This obviously is quite a decent metal case. Now, that still comes into topic too, but then storage also comes into limitation. Because when you're doing 4K or at least 8K and such forth, you're playing a lot of amount of data quite fast in long-term terminability. And I found out most of these, pretty much all of them, only go a max capacity of 2 terabytes. Now that may sound pretty big, but actually it's not pretty big for 4K 120 frames per second, or even 60 frames per second, or even 8K at 3 frames per second. So a lot of video eats up a lot of storage quite fast. So for 2 terabytes, that can go down in like that fast. And that's just for this. Now, carrying a multi-amount of this is quite a bit of a tricky situation. But what if I can carry 11 terabytes or more in basically a more easable package, and also still have a USB hub system? Well, I'll link down below what I actually think might actually work, because if I'm correct, both of the SD card systems will allow to be simultaneously used at the exact same time. And as SD cards now have, they actually have 2 terabytes of storage. Yeah. And that's even a micro SD. That's not a full SD card. That's a micro SD. I don't know if they even sell a standard SD card nowadays that have like 5 or something like that. But anyways, 2 terabytes on a micro SD. So that's 4 terabytes in both of the SD card slots for this hub. But what if we get something very compact and small that can give twice the amount of storage as one of these, with a little bit more reliability, not as fast performance, but enough as performance with the SD cards, and a bit more reliability, but also needs its own power in a theoretical sense. And it can also be extended with its own SD card slot. This NewQ hard drive for phone can be 2 terabytes plus another 2 terabytes with the SD card slot. But let's say we take apart that drive out there and just go and put in a 2.5 inch 5 gigabyte drive from this company, Seagate, that's technically a portable drive that I know you can probably just buy and just use that in a theoretical sense, but this has a built-in battery, is why you probably want to switch this drive to this. Now you get 11 terabytes of storage. And you still have an extra slot for USB-C or USB-A data ability. So you can actually use even more storage ability from a standard drive system or whatever. Or even another magnetic storage you can just bump like that on top of this hub that gives you 2 terabytes, which will give you 13 terabytes of storage. So that's actually a more interesting thing that I'm thinking about, instead of just this single thing that is maxed out at 2 terabytes. Because if you can have, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drives on one hub, that's pretty insane. And you're thinking, well, the portable hard drive actually needs its own power. No, it doesn't. As mentioned in the information, this NewQ hard drive actually has its own built-in battery system. So all you need to do is just, and it turns the battery system on, turns the hard drive on, runs it, and it transfers data. Boom, boom, boom. So it's a portable SSD and a hard disk drive system ability. So it has its own portable power system. Now, it's not going to be able to transfer super fast to another system, but for storage ability, it's going to have super performance. Which is quite insane. So basically, in a sense, I can make my phone into a massive NAS drive system with just this entire configuration. Because if I don't need to transfer any drives from a computer, I just save all the stuff straight to the phone. I can delete the stuff straight from the phone, make new stuff, and do it like that. I won't need to transfer it because everything's literally on the phone itself. Right? So instead of having 2 terabytes, I can have literally 13. and it won't even take any power. It would actually run its own power system both ways. From the hub of both the SD cards and the drive itself, the external drive, runs its own power supply. So once it's plugged in, it doesn't need to take power from the actual phone to be able to power its own self. And it has its own SD card slot system to even have more storage capabilities. And if I put just a battery on the back of the phone, for magnetic wise, obviously, I'll be able to just put the hub on the hub on top of the battery, and then configure my entire adapter system up to the phone's USB hub, and then connect the battery through some adapters to the power delivery port, and go with that, and boom, it works. And I won't need to use any cables, yada yada like this. Not to mention, if I did want to use the portable hard drive with its own power system on the go, since it doesn't require so much bandwidth, performance, because it only has a USB 5.0 port, not 5.0, a 3.0 port, which is 5 gigabits per second, and even though it doesn't really do 5 gigabits per second, it only does like 140 megabits per second. I can use like a 20-foot, well, not 20 foot, but like a 15-foot USB 3.0 cord from my phone to the drive and put that wherever if I want to use it at the exact same time. So, yeah, it's still super ultra portable, but I also just mainly need for SD drives. And you're thinking, well, you can always go more if you wanted to. They even sell a enclosure for a 2230 NVMe little stick that can go up to 2 terabytes. And yeah, that's actually a good option if I wanted to do that. But 11 terabytes? Or 13 terabytes? And the cool thing is, if I did get that option, I can also get their little accessory fan. Although, I'll probably use something a lot more powerful than, I don't know how powerful their little tiny fan is. I'd be able to connect it on top of it and cool that system down. Plus, since that is cooled down by magnetic on top of the hub, and the hub is on top of the battery, which is metal also, and then the phone is also metal, that will transfer all that coolant from the portable SSD magnetic top onto the magnetic hub, and the hub onto the phone, the battery, and the battery onto the phone, and all that heat distribution will transfer across the board and actually cool down a lot more better, because I'll be able to use a Peltron cooler system on all of those at the exact same time to keep it super cool if I need to power off one of those. Which is actually pretty neat. So, I'm thinking I might try this other path because it seems more powerful in performance ability. And if I don't really need as much transfer speeds, because I'm not really going to transfer them off the actual phone, because the phone is theoretically gonna be the actual powerhouse. Because if I'm using Samsung DeX, then the phone is theoretically the actual computer in itself. So this is cool, but this other idea actually seems more nicer, because not only do I get a USB hub that I can expand from 2 different data ports and have 2 SD cards running at the exact same time, but I have the huge expansion for 2 2 data USB ports to translate more storage capacity onto the phone itself. And the top is also magnetic. It doesn't seem like it, but it is naturally a magnetic system like this on the top of the USB hub. And the other cool thing is the 100S version is actually embedded SD cards. They're not going to stick out like a sore thumb like this far out. They're actually going to be like basically, I don't know, how do I get this? They're barely going to pop out like that far out from the top of it. So 4 terabytes from SD cards, 2 terabytes if I got their design of their little puck style SSD enclosure. And then if I configure, rip off the stock drive from the NewQ hard drive and put a 5 terabyte 2.5 inch drive into it, that will give me 5 terabytes just for that drive and work on its own. Plus it has its own SD card system built into it. So that'll give me another 2 terabytes. So that's 7 terabytes plus 6 terabytes. So yeah, that's 17. I mean, not 17. That's 13 terabytes with everything connected. I know you're thinking, well, you can probably just go with a freaking 3.5 millimeter drive if you want, 3.5 inch drive if you want to go with that. Those got like 30 to almost 50 gigabytes. I mean terabytes. And yeah, I could, if I wanted to. But then they won't actually be self-powered. This one is a 2.5 inch self-powered hard drive, and it has an SD card in, so it's kind of cool. So I don't know, what do you guys think of this? Anyways, see you guys later. Peace out.